Chapter 121. Wang Xiaoli was madly tugging at Qin Ming, frothing at the mouth and spewing curses. "It's all because of you, this poor. ###*##*##. After tugging for a while, Wang Xiaoli found that she could not tug Qin Ming, so she hammered her fist over. Wang Jing also had a hard time, her eyes dull, sitting helplessly on the ground. She muttered, "Oh, Qin Ming, you won the lottery and swell. This kind of problem can be solved by money. People Qi family is a luxury family, lack of your little money. Even if you are poor, can you be more mature in your thinking?" Zhang Qingqing also said, "Qin Ming, do not blindly get involved, it's not your business, come back. Do you know how to protect yourself? If you piss people off, even we will suffer." Qin Ming sighed and said, "Maybe you didn't talk properly, the other side is angry, I'll go over and try, it might work." Qin Ming walked over and the doctor was resuscitating the dog. Qin Ming asked, "How is it? Can it be saved?" The doctor said, "Fortunately, I learned some veterinary medicine, the stab is not a fatal wound, some blood loss, but stop bleeding, should not be life-threatening, but to hurry to send to the veterinary hospital." Hearing that the baby pet dog is fine, Wang Qian mood immediately much better again. She gratefully said to Qin Ming, "Young master, thank you so much, thanks to you to help me call a doctor. I was also too angry and forgot to resuscitate first. By the way, young master, those people are your friends?" Qin Ming scratched his head and said, "Well, sort of. Mrs. Qi, can." Wang Qian hurriedly said, "Yes, of course I can." When the young master opened his golden mouth, "Of course I can no longer be so capricious. In fact, young master, you do not misunderstand, I grabbed them just to go and scare them, absolutely no intention to hurt them." Qi Miao Miao said in surprise, "I was wondering who had bagged the best royal pavilion, but it turned out to be you, young master." Since it was the young master who asked, then we won't bother with them. Qin Ming went back to the back and said, They said they won't pursue it. You guys just don't worry about it?" The women were stunned, also including Zhang Haoun, only Zhou Yu had expected it. Zhang Qingqing looked surprised, "How is it possible, you convinced them in just a few words? Your mouth iron teeth cannot." Wang Xiaoli, who was dizzy from crying, suddenly stopped her tears and got up and tugged Qin Ming, saying, "Really? You didn't lie to me? Really? You convinced them not to pursue the case? Didn't you?" Wang Jing's desperate eyes also revealed a little bit of life. She said pitifully, "Really?" At this time, Wang Qian came over and took the hand of Wang Jing, who was scared silly just now, and said soothingly, "Little sister, I was just joking with you, I didn't scare you, right? I was also too sad, behavior is not normal." Then the young man was right, human life and dog life, there is no comparison, I was enlightened. Don't worry, I won't pursue it. Oh. Wang Jing stood dumbfounded, life's ups and downs came too fast, she could not digest it for a while. Qi Miao Miao also said, "You have to thank this handsome man. If it wasn't for him, my mother would not have let you go." After saying that, Qi Miao Miao also threw a look at Qin Ming, as if she was taking credit. Nai Haitang saw this little look from Qi Miao Miao and was angry in her heart, muttering, "Bad woman." Zhang Qingqing and other women had incredulity written all over their faces, and they actually praised Qin Ming. To Qin Ming a poor pen engraved Dyed Valley emblematic rates spring blanket delicacy playful. The cut window. The company's main business is to provide a wide range of products and services. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you're getting into. Wang Qian mother and daughter just left. Zhang Qingqing said strangely, "Is it that people are originally good-tempered?" Nai Haitang said, Just now Zhang Haoun and Zhou Yu said it is useless. She still did not die and said, maybe she suddenly figured it out, really think, human life is at stake, after all, is a person of status, will not be too much, the dog is just a pet, Qin Ming is a blind cat hit a dead mouse. To let Jiang Qingqing admit Qin Ming's great, Jiang Qingqing is really not easy, because 3 years, inside the badminton club, she was hailing Qin Ming, belonged to the bag carrying, ball picking, dilly-dallying. So, Penkong Na Marco Sol? The instep pure support for the ration can be created Mu Beach often. Now facing a magnificent family, they are helpless, Qin Ming 3 words on the line? Unless the boar will give birth to her, believe it? At this time, at the entrance of the arena, Wang Qian said angrily to her men, what? The road is blocked, the ambulance is blocked on the road. Then send out a helicopter. You dumb asses, can't you use your brains? If the slowdown delays the rescue of my Chelsea, you will all be buried with it. Wang Qian, that nervous tone, worried look, that lion's roar, scared the men rushed to arrange the helicopter. It is clear that Wang Qian is still very worried about the safety of the dog. Jiang Qingqing and other people looked dumbfounded, said the good great enlightenment it? The promised human life is more important than the dog's life? What the hell is buried with? This time, the women look at Qin Ming's eyes are strange, each cheek like fire, shame especially Wang Xiaoli, just now she was dying to complain about Qin Ming, but now instead of being saved by Qin Ming. Qin Ming also did not say anything, this can be said to repay the grievance with virtue. They then target Qin Ming is too uncouth, too unethical. Zhang Haoun did not help, quite embarrassed, said, sorry, I'm afraid I have to talk to my agent about this, I have to rush back. Wang Jing, I'll go first. You. Wang Jing was not happy in her heart because Zhang Haoyun, who was usually quite licky to her, left her who was getting hurt and ran away for the sake of her own future. Zhou Yu, although a lot of in front of Qin Ming show their faces, but a look left him a male, immediately said, just now I took a call, the company has an important customer to discuss business, I also go first. Wang Xiaoli face black, which customer will negotiate business with you a man at night? You lie to the devil? The 4 girls all stared at Qin Ming, lest he too should run away. 4 girls like a girl, about boys to the most high-end tourism and leisure manor in Guangzhou City, although the purpose is to deal with Qin Ming, but the results if the boys have run away, then the word out, they face where to put up. They are not a flood of beasts. Qin Ming is also not embarrassed, this is not his business, he did not do anything. Nai Haitang happily held Qin Ming's hand, sweetly smiled, humph, in the end, or I have a good eye. Qin Ming is so powerful, you guys don't underestimate him. What does this mean? All the women understand, the men they found all left them for various reasons, but Qin Ming not only solved all the problems, but also stayed until the end. Jiang Qingqing was in a depressed and unbearable mood, she waved her hand and said, it's really a sow on a tree and a boar giving birth. Go, sisters, go drink and forget about those stinky men. Wang Jing and Wang Xiaoli both empathize, all said together to go, not to get drunk. Qin Ming saw the situation is also crying and laughing, but cannot not follow, and later again, it will be the end of the accident. However, Qin Ming thought about it, if Nai Haitang is also drunk tonight, will not he have the opportunity to come? Chapter 122. At night, inside the ancient-style decorated villa, Jiang Qingqing and the other women were drunk. Jiang Qingqing chided in a domineering manner, Qin Ming, pour the wine. Qin Ming gave her a glance, President, you're already drunk. At this time, Wang Xiaoli, who was lying on Qin Ming's shoulder, said, humph, you men are all animals, don't you just want our women's bodies? Hey, we women are not easy to deal with either, I want your money. Qin Ming narrowed his eyes, What kind of trivial view was this? Too crooked, right? Wang Jing also hugged Qin Ming's waist and rested her head inside his thighs, muttering, "Qin Ming, will you go down on me if I'm drunk?" Qin Ming glanced at the slightly drunken Nai Haitang and hurriedly said, "Of course not." Before the words were finished, Wang Jing sat up and hooked his shoulder, drunkenly burping and puffing over with a mouthful of alcoholic breath, saying, "To fuck you is to be a beast, to not fuck you is to be Yang Wei." Qin Ming frowned, "Yang Wei? Oh, harmonics." In his heart, Qin Ming swore, "If I want to fuck you, I won't fuck you." His eyes fell on Nai Haitang. She was lying on the table, her collar slightly open, revealing her white shoulders. A delicate collarbone was unusually noticeable, and her mature full chest squeezed out a tempting curve. Qin Ming was also a bit drunk. Seeing such a beautiful woman, it would be a lie to say that he did not react. Jiang Qingqing also fell down drunk on the table and muttered, "Qin Ming, why have you become so powerful? You're obviously a stinker? Pan Jun?" Usually the window is cut. Knocked down and apologized. "I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a job." "No. Industry is certain acts?" "No." "How did you know?" The paradox of June. Wang Jing, who had long since fallen down drunk, muttered, "Jiang Qingqing, just you tried to teach someone Qin Ming a lesson, but you ended up being taught a lesson instead." Puke. Qin Ming looked at the four drunken women and shook his head at all of them. He picked up Nai Haitang first and went back to his room. He. Qin Ming put Nai Haitang down, ruffled her hair and examined her face, "So beautiful." Nai Haitang opened her eyes slightly and said with a blush on her face, "You are not allowed to make a bad move tonight, my first time, wait for the night we get married later." Qin Ming's heart warmed and he said, "Don't worry, I'll sleep with you tonight." Nai Haitang closed her eyes shyly. Qin Ming took the other three women back to their rooms separately and left. These three women were quite impolite when they were drunk, either taking off their clothes for Qin Ming to see, or asking Qin Ming to take off his clothes for them to see, and asking Qin Ming how long that thing was, and they wanted to try it out, saying things that were as yellow as they could be, really unpleasant to the ears. In the end, it was hard to get all three women into one room, and Qin Ming was about to leave. Suddenly he was hugged at the back and both his feet were hugged as well, dragging him backwards hard. Jiang Qingqing's mouth just kissed over. Qin Ming himself was dumbfounded that he had kissed Jiang Qingqing, who had always been proud and despised him. The actual fact is that you can find a lot of people who have been in the business for a long time. The first thing you need to do is to take off your trousers, and your lower body is cold. Qin Ming kicked over. Wang Xiaoli fell to the ground with a sound. Ah! He was pushed down on the big bed by Wang Jing, a woman who, when drunk, pounced on him like a wolf, rubbing against his body. But Qin Ming was also furious. Lao Zi was not a casual man. He rose to the occasion, invigorated his male style and gradually gained the dominant position. He took care of both, grabbing her hands in an unusually ambiguous position, especially as Jiang Qingqing had already undressed, her cheeks blushing with shame and resentment. Although not a top beauty, Jiang Qingqing was quite handsome, especially with a good figure. She said drunkenly, "Tonight is cheap for you, kid. What are you still looking at? Hurry up, I have a set in my bag." Qin Ming's heart twitched. Wasn't she quite sober, President? At this moment, Jiang Qingqing was in front of him, but there was no defense. All he had to do was lean down, raise his gun, and he could possess this woman. To conquer a woman who had mocked him for 3 years and make her beg for mercy under Qin Ming, it was exciting to think about. Jiang Qingqing reached down towards him, and Qin Ming's evil fire instantly flared up. His desire was up. Jiang Qingqing's hand was very gentle and enchanted. "You are quite capital." But Qin Ming's mind suddenly flashed back to when he was in the hot spring, confessing to Nai Haitang her smile, so innocent, so beautiful. Men, keep your lower body in check. Although Li Meng's affair was fake, if he were to do it for real this time, Nai Haitang and him would probably be finished for real. Jiang Qingqing is Nai Haitang's best friend, so if he really had something going on with Jiang Qingqing, he would definitely be found out, and he would really become a scum. If Qin Ming thought about it with his head, he would choose Nai Haitang. Qin Ming suddenly got up with a black face. He put on his clothes and covered Jiang Qingqing, saying, "President, you are drunk, cover up, don't catch a cold." Qin Ming walked out of the room and took a long breath. He walked into the bathroom and took a 10-minute cold shower before his whole body calmed down and went soft with chicken. Qin Ming went back to his room and saw Nai Haitang sleeping, peacefully and quietly, in a very pretty sleeping position, sleeping in an even more serene and lovely way. He gently stroked over her fair and flawless face. Qin Ming was grateful for having just kept the bottom line. The woman in front of him was the only one worthy of his over a billion children and grandchildren's well. Nai Haitang suddenly opened her eyes and said tiredly, "You're back. What took you so long?" Qin Ming laughed and said, "The three of them were too much trouble, I threw them all in one room. Fortunately I came back quickly, otherwise your man would have been eaten by them." Infinite. Qin Ming got into bed and gently embraced Nai Haitang, who also obediently lay in his arms and said, "Qin Ming, will you be angry with me if I don't give it to you for now? Actually, I think it's best for a woman to give her first time to the man she likes on the night of her wedding." Nai Haitang hugged Qin Ming a little tighter again and said, "I think if you like someone you have to end it from one to the other. Love is a long run in life and the two of you run together until you die of old age before it can be called the end. If you can't bear a little bit of patience, it's not love." Qin Ming's heart was moved. This was quite in line with his view of love. He said, "When I was with Li Meng 2 years ago, I thought that I would have children with her for the rest of my life. But she betrayed me." Nai Haitang sniggered, "I know, I could always tell that you were truly in love with her. After I went to university, many men looked at me with lust in their eyes, but not you, so I usually love talking to you. Li Meng is just stupid, you don't even want such a good one." Qin Ming gently scraped Nai Haitang's face and said, "Don't worry. I'll take care of your family as soon as I can and get them to acknowledge me. When the time comes, I'll tell everyone that you, Nai Haitang, are my Qin Ming's woman." Nai Haitang smiled happily and fell asleep quietly in Qin Ming's arms. The next morning, Qin Ming asked the manor staff to get a car to take the women back. The women said they were drunk yesterday and their heads still hurt. Qin Ming was at a loss for words and could only keep arguing that they had taken off their clothes themselves. The woman's attitude towards Qin Ming was back to her everyday routine, which made Qin Ming feel depressed, thinking to himself, "President, can you at least improve your attitude? I invited you to enjoy a night at the South Mountain Manor last night." When Qin Ming returned to school, he was surprised to find that the three brothers in the dormitory all had bruises on their faces. Qin Ming asked curiously, "Brother Niu, Young Yang, Young Peng, what happened to you? Who beat you up?" Zhao Niu covered up and said, No, we got bruised playing ball." Liang Xiaoyang and Sons Hepeng also dodged their eyes. Qin Ming's face turned gloomy as he asked, "Was it that Wang Qinju?" Chapter 123. Under Qin Ming's questioning, Zhao Liniu had to tell the truth. "Last night, Wang Qinju suddenly brought a group of his minions to look for you, but you weren't there, so he took it out on us and beat us up. He also asked for your book table. I thought I was just an average reader and your books were more important, so I reported my location and they smashed my computer and tore up all the books. He said he would get back at you. Ming, how did you mess with that kind of person? That's a bully." Qin Ming looked over at Zhao Liniu's desk. The chair was rotten, the desk was written with many insults and the books were all gone. Then looking at the bruises on the three brothers' faces, they must have been beaten badly last night. Zhao Liniu is the oldest of the four in the dormitory, so everyone respects him more and calls him Brother Niu. Zhao Liniu is also very sympathetic to them, especially knowing that Qin Ming's family is poor. He takes special care of Qin Ming in life. When Qin Ming saw Wang Qinzhi bullying his best friend of 3 years in college, he was so angry that he clenched his fist and said, "That scum, don't you have the guts to come at me? Find innocent people to vent, what kind of man is that?" Suddenly, Qin Ming's mobile phone rang. The bodyguard on the other end of the phone said, "Young master, something is wrong, there are only 2 of us, I'm afraid we can't protect Miss Bai's safety." "What's going on?" Qin Ming frowned. These 2 people should be the bodyguards who were arranged to secretly protect Bai Yuchun's side. In terms of strength, they had no problem at all. Why did they say they couldn't protect her? Wouldn't they escape if they couldn't fight? The bodyguard said, "Young master, the situation is a bit complicated, that Wang Qinzhi and Zhou Yun have colluded together and played some tricks. It is no longer a problem that can be solved by violence alone. It's better for you to take a look in person. I'm afraid something might happen to Miss Bai if you come late." Qin Ming's heart stuttered, that Zhou Yun from Bai Yuchun's dormitory. She had actually colluded with Wang Qinzhi. His friends in college, apart from the 3 brothers in the dormitory, were Zhang Xiaoyan from his class, Bai Yuchun from the business school, and Nai Haitang from the badminton club, all of whom were his classmates, and he was very happy with them, and each of them Qin Ming treasured very much. Now, because of him, Wang Qinzhi is preying on his friends around him. How can this be tolerated? Did he really think that all honest people would die in silence? Did he really think that Qin Ming had no bottom line? Qin Ming first called Song Ying and told her to start preparing for what was to follow. He hung up the phone and said, "Brother Niu, don't worry, I will definitely get this justice back for you." Zhao Liniu immediately pulled Qin Ming and said, "Xiao Ming, don't, they are bullies, they know people in the society, they are vicious, we can't fight them." Liang Xiaoyang also said, "Let's hide for a while, when the storm has passed, we can still live our lives the same way. There are some people we can't afford to mess with." Sun Zhepeng also said, "We are all injured, so I really don't want to see you get hurt too. I heard that Wang Qinzhi chased a girl before, and that girl had a boyfriend, so Wang Qinzhi directly broke the girl's boyfriend's leg, and that girl promised Wang Qinzhi in order to keep her boyfriend from getting hurt, and as a result, that girl was played with by Wang Qinzhi and his boys that night, and even recorded a video. In the end both that girl and the boy dropped out of school. And afterwards they both dared not report the incident for fear of retaliation." Qin Ming's face chilled as he listened. What a cruel guy. Zhao Liniu sighed. The Wang family is a rich family, rich, have connections, many things can be wiped out, cannot be wiped out, smashing money, there is always a price to smash the heart of people. A girl from the mechanical and electrical college next door was also slept with by Wang Qinzhi. The parents came to the school to ask for an explanation, and Wang Qinzhi's father settled the matter with $2 million. The more Qin Ming listened, the more he felt shuddered. This lawless guy, in the end, who condoned this? Before Qin Ming could walk out of the door, 3 rascally guys suddenly came to the entrance of the dormitory. They did not look like students of this school. The 3 men were very arrogant and haughty, pointing at Qin Ming and asking, "Huh? There are 4 losers today, you don't have any injuries on your face, you are Qin Ming, right?" Zhao Liniu hurriedly said, He's not, he's the host. Next door. Qin Ming graciously admitted, "I am Qin Ming." Oops, the 3 dormitory brothers all looked chagrined. How could they have admitted it? A good man doesn't want to lose. The leader of the group, a thin face, slapped Zhao Liniu. "Damn, lying to me? I'm Master Zhang under Brother Tiger, how dare you lie to Master Zhang?" With a slap, Zhao Liniu was knocked to the ground, daring to speak out in anger. Qin Ming's face was cold to the core as he said, If you break your own arm and apologize to my brother, I will forgive your rudeness. Ha! Those three Wang Qinzhi's junior brothers had a teasing look on their faces as they laughed. This kid is a fool, right? No wonder he offended our brother Tiger. If you kid breaks your own stroke, I won't waste your legs and bring you to brother Tiger. Ha 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 ha, Master Zhang, this kid has probably watched too much island anime. It's called middle-aged sickness. Many college students have this problem nowadays. I'm laughing my ass off. How dare you ask us to cut our hands off? Wait, I'll rip your head off and give it to brother Tiger as a chair. The corners of Qin Ming's mouth smiled coldly as he craned his neck and stretched his muscles, his gloomy, icy face exuding an air of street bravery and ruthlessness. Wang Qinzhi's three little brothers were all startled because Qin Ming's temperament had suddenly changed. Originally quite literary and scholarly, he suddenly became like the feeling of a brawler in a fighting arena, giving off a ruthless feeling. Qin Ming calmly rubbed his fingers and said, I once swore to say goodbye to street fighting for good and not to be a gangster. To break your hands today is not to say that I am so great, but anyone who bullies my friends must pay 10 times the price. That skinny-faced Master Zhang felt shaken by Qin Ming's aura and suddenly became irritated, suddenly shouting, Grass, do you think you're Chow Yun fat? Brother, beat him up. But he was about to rush up when Qin Ming gave a quicker kick and tucked him out, and with a bang, that Master Zhang crashed into the wall of the corridor outside the dormitory, shattering the bones in his back and causing pain all over his body. Ah, brother help me. And the other two, swung to hit over, but Qin Ming's fists were faster, more vicious and more accurate. Ouch, crap. Humph, this guy is so ruthless. Bang, 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 the three wrestled, a melee, their fists hitting Qin Ming as if scratching an itch, while Qin Ming punched to the bone, hitting the three so softly that they could not stand up. But after only a minute, the fight was over. Qin Ming wiped the blood from his fists, all from the faces of these three Yakuza, and said disdainfully, unbeatable, not as good as a woman I fought with for years back then. He found an iron bar and cut open the hand of the skinny face that had just slapped Zhao Liniu. A student from the next dormitory over asked in awe, what are you doing, Qin Ming? This man has already passed out. Qin Ming saw that someone was recording the video, but didn't panic. After today, Wang Qinzhi and his minions would disappear from Guangcheng City, so it didn't matter to him. He said, you guys just watch, this is what happens when you bully my brothers. Ho! The iron rod smashed down, and the hand of the thin-faced one at the head broke with a sound. Ah! That Master Zhang screamed his heart out, screamed his shit out, and his body trembled and shuddered as he actually spasmed and jerked out. You. Master Zhang looked up at Qin Ming in awe, unable to say a second word for half a day. Boom! Qin Ming stomped down on the broken bone, and Master Zhang screamed in pain once again, the sound as desperate as it could be. Zhao Liniu and the others in the dormitory watched. Instead of feeling that Qin Ming was bloody and brutal, they felt great. How badly they had been beaten last night, how great they felt now. Qin Ming asked, what is Wang Qinzhi doing? How is he and Zhou Yun working together and what is he going to do to Bai Yu Chun? Speak, and you will be spared for now. If you don't, your hands and feet will be cut off. I'm telling you. Master Zhang was sweating profusely and his face was pale as he pleaded. He threatened Bai Yu Chun's class with deliberate hostility, all kinds of language mocking her, abusing her, humiliating her, and unless she promised to be Tiger's girlfriend, these situations will not stop. Moreover, Brother Tiger approached the shop where Bai Yu Chun worked part-time, looking for people to fetch trouble and wreak havoc, forcing Bai Yu Chun to fail to do her part-time job. Unless she agrees to be Tiger's girlfriend. Now Brother Tiger is leading people inside the XX stir-fry shop, causing trouble. However, Brother Tiger has little patience left, he plans to use force today. XX The roads near the stir-fry shop have all been closed by Brother Tiger's men. He has spent a lot of money this time, and we are also hired by him to come into the school. Brother, I'll say everything, please let me go, I'm just following orders. Qin Ming kicked this Master Zhang unconscious and quickly carved towards a fast food restaurant outside the school. He was not afraid of any fish slipping through the net, because today would be the day that Wang Qingju's gang would be destroyed. Chapter 124. It was noon in a small fast food restaurant off the university campus, and it was a crowded time, but today's customers were rather special, not like they were here to eat. Bai Yuchun is helping to order food in the shop, but she is obviously a bit trembling today because there are too many immodest people in the shop, especially when she sees Wang Qingju, who once confessed his love to her in public and stalked her after being rejected. She had already lost 2 part-time jobs last night because of Wang Qingju's deliberate disruption, and if she lost this one today, she would be cut off from her living expenses. At the widest table in the shop, a woman dressed up in a flamboyant way was none other than Bai Yuchun's housemate Zhou Yun. She arrogantly slapped the table and said, "Yeah, why is it so slow? I'm starving to death, Bai Yuchun, how did you become a waitress? You're a loser, do you know that? Still from the same school as me, and you're actually working as a lowly job like a waiter, hey puke, bad luck." Zhou Yun was deliberately looking for trouble. Bai Yuchun knew very well that she used to find trouble with her like this too. She also didn't understand why Zhou Yun had hooked up with Wang Qingju. Bai Yuchun timidly but said, "The kitchen is still doing it." With a bang, Zhou Yun smashed the cup in front of Bai Yuchun and said in a domineering manner, "Serve the food, are you fucking deaf? What? Do you believe I'll smack you for being so stingy?" Zhou Yun got up and approached Bai Yuchun step by step, pointing at the bruises on her cheeks and ears, and yelling like a madman, "You're a scourge, ever since I lived in the same dormitory with you, I haven't had a single day of comfort, and I even got my face blown up by that Qin Ming because of you." Zhou Yun's 2 female followers also gathered around her unkindly, blocking her retreat and preventing her from leaving. Zhou Yun walked up with a sardonic smile and yanked out Bai Yuchun's hair as she said, "Ha ha ha, you poor pussy. I heard that your man has gone to pick up a rich white girl from the business school again, she has money and a face, what do you have? Apart from this face, what do you have?" Zhou Yun roughly pushed Bai Yuchun to the ground. Bai Yuchun shrank her shoulders in fear and whispered, "Please, please, please, please." When Zhou Yun saw the scared and frightened Bai Yuchun, her heart was overwhelmed with excitement as she tugged on Bai Yuchun's hair and cursed, "I've already dumped that useless trash Wang Dalong. Damn it, is your man's name Qin Ming? Oh, you think you're great just because you can fight? My boyfriend now is Wang Chenghu, he is the school's little bully, one finger of Brother Tiger is enough to poke him to death." Zhou Yun dragged this Bai Yuchun by the hair and pulled her to Wang Chenghu. Wang Qingju turned back proudly, nuzzled his chin and laughed, "That's right, it's exactly me, this big master." Zhou Yun cupped Bai Yuchun's chin and said, "It's your good fortune in your past life that Brother Tiger has taken a fancy to you. From now on, I will be the big one and you will be the little one. Serve me and Brother Tiger, got it?" Bai Yuchun's hair was yanked to the point of pain and she shook her head desperately. "Pa," Zhou Yun threw another slap across her face and said angrily, "Shame on you. You're still not satisfied with sharing a man with me? What? Damn, I bullied 150 women in high school, how could I have fallen into your hands? Bitch. I'm always pissed off at your arrogant attitude. You're a poor cunt from the mountains of Sichuan province, and you're being bullied by a bunch of stinkers. How can you be so proud of yourself? I'm sorry. The actual fact is that you will be able to get a lot more than just a few of these. The actual fact is that you will be able to get a lot more than just a few of these. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you're doing. If it wasn't for the headmaster yesterday, Brother Tiger would have killed him. A junior said proudly, ha ha ha, the principal couldn't come today, and I don't know if he can come later. Zhou Yun was overjoyed and gave Wang Qinju a very adoring look. Wang Qinju smiled lightly, oh, a car accident should be laid up for 3 or 2 months, it seems that he even broke a hand. I'm not worried about my brother's work, he'll be out in a year and a half after doing a job for 100,000 yuan. Follow me, Wang Qinju, it's easy to earn money, whoever does it will know. The surrounding youngsters cheered, Brother Tiger is a bully. Brother Tiger is powerful. That old woman Liao Qing deserves to die, she dared to ask our Brother Tiger to punish him for 3 hours, she is simply the reincarnation of the exterminator. You think the headmaster is so great? Our Brother Tiger is the one who is rich is the bully. Wang Qinju listened to his men's praise and said smugly, nonsense, in this world, there is no problem that money cannot solve. For example, I've closed these 2 streets, so I'll just spend more money and get more people, and I'll let whoever I want in, and let all those who don't want in go around. One of the junior brothers bragged, Brother Tiger is the king's law, he can close the road when he says so, I am convinced. Wang Qinju looked at Bai Yuchun and said, we'll do it on the main road later, a threesome on the main road in broad daylight, ha ha ha, I've never tried it before, it must be exciting. Anyway, I've closed the road, no one will pass by, don't worry, I don't like fucking being watched either. Bai Yuchun's body trembled with fear, she kept shaking her head desperately resisting. Even if Zhou Yunxi was already Wang Qinju's woman, she was still a bit trembling in fear when faced with such a perverted preference of his. But Zhou Yun clearly understood that her current strength was given by Wang Qinju, and she could not anger him. Otherwise, without Wang Qinju as her backer, she would have to turn into a respectful situation towards Bai Yuchun again. She stared at Bai Yuchun viciously, thinking, isn't he just good looking? When I get the chance later, I'll slowly torture you bitch. At this moment, the shop owner came out somewhat nervously, and he helplessly threw his salary to Bai Yuchun, saying, Bai student, I'm afraid of you. This is your salary for these few days, so don't come back in the future. Classmates, you should not make a scene either. It's not easy for us to run a small business, we're closing down today. Wang Qinju rubbed his fingers together and threatened, boss, so many of us brothers haven't eaten yet. After being left out for most of the day by you, do you have to compensate us for the loss of time? The owner of the fast food restaurant shook his head darkly, and looking at the room of punks, he took out 10,000 yuan and handed it to Wang Qinju, closing the door and leaving. In a short while, the other shops along the whole road followed suit and closed down to avoid getting into trouble, and there was only Bai Yuchun and Wang Qinju's people left in the No Long Street. It was truly empty. Wang Qinju patted the money in his hand and said, Bai Yuchun, did you see that? This is me, my skills, my abilities. I call the shots here, I am the king's law. Isn't following me better than that scum Qin Ming? He went to pick up Nai Haitang yesterday, she's a rich white girl, you're just a poor pussy. Qin Ming is a scum, trash, punk, soft-skinned king, coward, wimp, sweeper. Didn't Principal Liao help him yesterday? Today she's in hospital because of a man-made car accident, where is he? He's hiding out, huh? I would have liked to have cleaned him up last night. I don't know where that wimp has gone to watch the door and wash the dishes for someone, but I'll clean up his roommate then. Isn't he a good reader? I'll burn all his books, ha ha ha. Zhou Yun is now my girlfriend, he hurt my Zhou Yun before, so I want him to pay 10 times the price now. As soon as Bai Yuchun heard Wang Chenghu insult Qin Ming, she couldn't hold back, originally fearing her, and didn't know where she got the courage to raise her head. She gritted her teeth and said, no, Qin Ming, he is excellent, 100 or 10,000 times better than you. Moreover, I have known for a long time that Qin Ming likes Miss Nai, from the very beginning when we met. But I just liked him, I just couldn't stop liking him, I liked everything about him, I just liked him. I'll say yes to anything he asks. And you're the one who's a piece of trash. The more Wang Qinju listened, the hotter he got. What makes a poor man like Qin Ming? Pan Jun? Ziyi knocked on the Kong not dink. The more he heard, the more fire he got. The actual fact is that the actual person is not a person. The actual website is a great way to get the most out of your website. Wang Qinju suddenly burst into a rage and shouted, Laozi is not trash, you are the trash, Laozi hates it when people call me trash. He dragged Bai Yuchun, pulling her to the side of the road, and roared, Bai Yuchun, today I will make you desperate, unable to live or die. Not to mention Qin Ming, Jesus can't even save you, Wang Qinju said so. Wang Qinju said, you call him and tell him to come. If he comes, he's a dead dog, if he doesn't come, he's a wimp. Bai Yuchun was holding her mobile phone, she was so helpless, what should she do? What should she do? Call Qin Ming? She wouldn't dare to call Qin Ming in such a situation, there were so many people in Wang Qinju, calling Qin Ming to come over, wouldn't that be a disservice to Qin Ming? She was determined to call the police. Chapter 125. Qin Ming hurriedly arrived at a street outside the school. The road, which was usually crowded, now looked rather deserted. A few student-like people pulled up a banner, placed a bunch of ice cream buckets and put up a sign saying road collapse, repair in progress. Qin Ming tried to go in, but was stopped. Wang Qinju's junior said with an iron bar, this road is closed, go away. Qin Ming was immediately furious, putting out people like fire, he kicked out and sent the little brother flying, growling, then let's see who gets out. The other boys looked at him and said, oh no. They were bored and immediately gathered around. Qin Ming saw that there were quite a few of them, 6 more, so he would have to take a bit of time and get a bit of color to clean up. Humph, kid, are you tired of living? Go back to your studies, nerd. Too late, now let's teach you a good lesson. This kind of nerd is just untidy. Qin Ming looked cold and stern, his anger could no longer be contained, and walked past without hiding. Some passers-by who were curious as to why the road was closed persuaded, are you crazy, young man? What are you messing with when the road collapses in front of you? That's right, isn't that giving the staff a hard time? College students are so lawless nowadays, is it hard to take a detour? Yeah, is this kid an idiot? Qin Ming turned a deaf ear to the sneers and misunderstandings of the passers-by as he just walked on. Those who attempted to attack him only raised their hands before they were lifted up from behind like chickens by Qin Ming's bodyguards and thrown aside, punched and kicked, and couldn't stand up. The only person who rushed to Qin Ming was kicked away by Along, who had been following him, and his ribs were shattered, leaving him sprawled on the ground spitting blood and foam. Those passers-by who had just come together were dumbfounded and shut their mouths one by one, while their hearts had already set off waves, thinking that it was so cool that Qin Ming had helpers, that he did nothing but walk straight past and his opponents were all taken care of by his men. Along grunted, these people are really bold, posing as government workers and forcing a road closure, do they really think they are the king of heaven? Qin Ming remained silent and quickly rushed towards the small shop where Bai Yuchun was working. After Qin Ming walked past, one of the junior brothers endured the pain, lying on the ground and took out his mobile phone, calling Wang Qinju, hello? Brother Tiger, someone has broken in, it seems to be that Qin Ming, and he has 3 helpers. You have to be careful, we can't beat them. On the other end of the phone, Wang Qinju cursed, what? You can't beat him? They can't even beat the 3 doggy bastards in their dormitory, what a waste. Wang Qinju hung up the phone and looked at Bai Yuchun with a hideous smile, saying, haha, it took no effort to get here after stepping through iron shoes, that bastard Qin Ming is coming over, I've prepared a big gift for him. Boom boom. On the side, Wang Qingju's boys rode several modified motorbikes, throttling up and putting a rope on the rear rack, apparently to tie up Qin Ming and drag him to the street. Bai Yuchun was so frightened that her skin was as white as snow. She didn't care anymore and took out her mobile phone to call 911. But with a snap, she was kicked away by Zhou Yun, who said angrily, "You bitch, you still want to call the police? Yuck, dream on." Slap. Zhou Yun's high heels shattered that Vivo's $1,000 phone with one foot. Bai Yuchun's heart trembled as she looked at the phone that had been turned into pieces, a gift from Qin Ming. The moment the phone shattered, it was as if her connection with Qin Ming had been cut off, and a feeling of suffocation spread throughout her body. Bai Yuchun flew up and held the shattered phone in her hands with trembling hands. "My phone." Zhou Yun said disdainfully, "A rubbish domestic machine, look how precious you are, really poor people with poor insight." Wang Qingju took a puff of his cigarette and said in a sarcastic voice, "Yo, the main character is here, a good show is on, ha ha ha." The boys around him burst into laughter, and they all took out their weapons, either water pipes, golf clubs, or baseball bats, and gathered around them in an exaggerated manner. Qin Ming's face was sullen as he walked straight over with his hands empty. The two bodyguards had already gone to deal with those who were deliberately blocking the road, and Qin Ming was followed by Along. Qin Ming saw that all the shops around were closed, while Bai Yuchun was pulled to the ground by Zhou Yun by her hair. The skin on her left arm was scraped and bleeding, a pang of heartache. She was such a peaceful girl, but she was forced to the side. Wang Qingju arrogantly spat out his smoke. "Qin Ming, you poor? The actual fact is that you can't get a good deal on your own. The first step of the process is to get to the heart of the matter. The actual fact is that you will be able to get a lot more than just a few of these." The last time Zhou Yun saw Qin Ming, she remembered the last time she was stormed by Qin Ming, resulting in an injury by her ear. She was extremely hateful inside, but she was now at ease because she had a big backer, Wang Chenghu, the school's little bully. The little brother at the side also laughed out loud, laughing out loud, "Just two of them, what are they doing if they are not here to die?" Zhou Yun arrogantly said, "Brother Tiger, is he afraid he's not here to lick your shoes and beg for mercy? Brother Tiger, later on, I want this kid to kneel in front of me and beg for forgiveness. I want him to drink my urine and eat my shit. And make him watch this bitch Bai Yuchun get fucked by all the brothers and be helpless to do anything about it. I'll see if he can still pop. I'll see if he can still get up." Bai Yuchun looked at Qin Ming, who had rushed in, her forehead still a little sweaty. She could no longer hold back, her eyes rushing down like a flood that had broken the bank. She choked out, "Qin Ming, you shouldn't have come and left me alone. There are too many of them. For my sake, how can I let you get involved?" Zhou Yun pooh-poohed, "Yo, you bitch is still quite smitten? But soon you'll be reunited together in the hospital, don't worry." A little brother shouted, "There's no headmaster to save you today, because Principal Liao has been rammed into the hospital by our brother Tiger looking for someone." Ha 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 ha. What? This Wang Qingju had actually laid hands on Principal Liao. The anger in Qin Ming's heart could no longer be suppressed, and his fists were almost clenched to bleed. His friends, Zhao Liniu, Sons Hepeng, Liang Xiaoyang, Bai Yuchun, his benefactor Principal Liao, had all been bullied by Wang Qingju while he was away. He felt so sorry for his friends. He was a failure. Why did he have to be so kind when he had inherited the richest man in the world and possessed so much ability? At the beginning, when he saw Wang Qingju looking for trouble, wouldn't a phone call have finished him off? He let out a long sigh. "I'm really too kind, for trash, one doesn't deserve to give a chance, let alone love to give any pity." The minion snorted, "Huh? Is this guy out of his mind? He's too kind." That day in the dining hall, but he was scolded by Brother Tiger for not daring to do anything for a round. In the end, You still don't rely on women. If it wasn't for that spinster of a headmaster, you, the king of soft rice, would have been killed by Brother Tiger. I'm also drunk when a man can be such a loser as you and still be self-absorbed. A blonde-haired little brother walked over carrying a water pipe, cocked his head, poked Qin Ming disdainfully and said, I don't even need Brother Tiger to do it, I'll take you down by myself, you know? Punk, know what's good for you and go to Brother Tiger on your knees and beg for mercy. Qin Ming gave him a cold glance, and the blonde-haired little brother's heart inexplicably trembled as he took 3 steps back. Qin Ming raised the corner of his mouth and took out something from his trouser pocket and said, Wang Qinju, I've come to return something to you, the big tooth that I knocked out of you in the dining hall yesterday. When Wang Qinju saw his big tooth, his face changed and he suddenly threw his cigarette in a rage and said, Damn you, Qin Ming, you want to die. Chapter 126. The moment Qin Ming took out Wang Qinju's big tooth, it was undoubtedly a hard slap in his face, once again disgracing him. Yesterday Qin Ming had knocked him down with 1 punch and lost a big tooth, and at that time he was a little dizzy and couldn't stand up. At that time, Qin Ming was already ready for a fight and a few of his juniors were not able to suppress him. Instead of saying that Principal Liao had saved Qin Ming, it would be more appropriate to say that Principal Liao had saved Wang Qinju. However, this morning, Wang Qinju spent 100,000 yuan to bribe a jobless young man to drive his car and injure Principal Liao, which is really revenge. Wang Qinju hates to lose face, especially in front of his own little brother, twice. How can he stand it? He had no choice but to lose face. Wang Qinju grabbed his stick and shouted, Get this bitch Bai Yuchun into the shop, when I've crippled Qin Ming, the soft-boiled king, I'll grass her in front of this punk, wait for me to grass. Zhou Yun and 2 girls from the same dormitory, immediately pulled Bai Yuchun to the fast food shop, what closed. The group went straight in by banging on the door. The street was a stern atmosphere, there was no one around, it was just Qin Ming and Wang Qinju, 2 groups of people. Wang Qinju's eyes were about to burst into flames as he walked towards Qin Ming and shouted, Qin Ming, I want you to die, but I won't let you die so easily, ha 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 ha. 2 years ago, I tortured a man called Maz Hitao, I first broke his arms and legs, then hung him up and cut his skin and flesh, piece by piece, like the ancient lynching. Then I poured him into a pile of ants, and his screams of misery were the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard, ahaha. You'll be even worse, the chipping stick, have you heard of it? Not only will I abuse Bai Yuchun in front of you, but I will abuse your family in front of you. Unless you kneel down immediately, crawl in front of me and become my human pet dog, I will consider targeting only you and spare your family. The slap was crisp and pleasing to the ear. When Qin Ming slapped him, Wang Qinju, who was shouting vigorously, didn't even react, or didn't even think that Qin Ming would really dare to do it. He had a large number of brothers behind him. Wang Qinju was bewildered by the blow, and he shouted furiously, Don't you fucking understand human language? Pa 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 pa. Qin Ming backhanded and slapped him 3 more times with such force that Wang Qinju's face turned red. The slaps were extremely hard, Wang Qinju's body deflected, stumbled, and fell to the ground. He wiped the corner of his mouth, which was bleeding. Wang Qinju finally woke up from the blow, he screamed with an owl and swung his stick to whip over, but Qin Ming flew up and kicked him in the wrist, the stick flew away. It fell to the ground with a bang. Qin Ming kicked him again with all his might, stepping on Wang Qinju's chest, and with a poof, his ribs broke and he spurted out a mouthful of old blood. Wang Qinju's mouth was full of blood and he couldn't stand up from the pain. This happened suddenly, but for a few seconds, the crowd thought Qin Ming would be knocked down by Wang Qinju, but they did not expect Wang Qinju to be stepped on by Qin Ming in 3 or 2 strokes. Who is Qin Ming? Although he hadn't fought in 4 years, Qin Ming worked tomorrow, his body was exercised, his fitness was well maintained, and his ruthlessness never disappeared and was always hidden deep inside. The son of a wealthy man, Wang Qinju is nothing but a brutal man who is on the road to sex every day, and has long since emptied his body of alcohol and sex. Qin Ming knocked down Wang Qinju in 3 or 2 moves, which was both unexpected and reasonable. "You're dead, you're absolutely dead." Wang Qinju only felt his cheeks burning hot and painful all over his body. He sprayed people with blood in his mouth. "Let's go together and waste this kid." The crowd of minions responded with a call. A total of more than 20 people swung various iron bars and rushed towards Qin Ming. Along smiled disdainfully and calmly stepped forward to block in front of Qin Ming, saying, "Young master, don't worry, no one can get within 1 meter of your body." The 20 or so people under Wang Qinju were not only some of the self-serving gangsters from the school, but also some of the socially rotten people who were not capable of anything, but were just acting as accomplices for the tiger by virtue of Wang Qinju's name. Who is Along? The ex-soldier king who easily took down Qin Ming's highly paid professional bodyguards. Like a wolf entering a flock of sheep, Along took down these minions with just 1 punch each. It didn't even take more than that. His fist reached the flesh, breaking bones and breaking skin. Those iron bars didn't even have time to swing down before all these minions fell down. Chapter 127. Inside the fast food restaurant, it was a mess. Bai Yuchun was scared like a rabbit surrounded by wolves, at a loss and helpless. Despair spread out from her eyes. But she was even more worried about Qin Ming outside. She didn't know why Qin Ming had to come to her rescue. She obviously didn't have much to do with him, and if Qin Ming was hurt because of her, she would feel bad about it. But the few times she tried to rush out, she was pushed back by Zhou Yun. The 3 women showed a fierce sneer and said, "Show me how arrogant you are, see how proud you are." "What? So what if your man is here? He was still crippled by my tiger's 20-odd men." Zhou Yun brought a bottle of soy sauce from the kitchen and poured it over Bai Yuchun's head. "Sisters, wash Miss Bai well, brother Tiger is going to sleep with her later." The other 2 housemates also brought drinks, chili oil and flour and poured them all over Bai Yuchun's body, making her all dirty. The weak Bai Yuchun couldn't resist. She just kept begging, "Please, it's all because of me, please don't hurt Qin Ming, he's innocent." Boom! Zhou Yun smashed a soy sauce bottle and pointed at Bai Yuchun's face and threatened, "If Tiger hadn't named you to sleep with, do you think I would have let you get away with it? Now I've condescended to let you serve brother Tiger with me, and you're still thinking about that poor? You're still thinking about that poor man? The first thing you need to do is to get a job. What do you think? What do you think? What is the animal? The company is a member of the board of directors. The company is a member of the board of directors of the University of California. The company has a wide range of products and services, including the scourge. If you know what you're doing, you'll serve Tiger well, and if you're happy, you and I will both benefit. Take the driving rein from the hotel and give our Miss White a full meal so that she has the strength to sleep with brother Tiger later. That's a pretty face, and those tits are really nice. I've educated you well, and brother Tiger might reward me with a BMW for it." Zhou Yun laughed maniacally, and the 2 girls around her immediately went into the back kitchen to serve the dirty, smelly driving rein. Bai Yuchun pulled Zhou Yun in a panic and said, "Is it true that if I agree to be his girlfriend, he will let Qin Ming go?" "Okay then, I agree. Go and tell Wang Qinju to stop, don't hurt Qin Ming, and never bother him again, and I'll promise him." Zhou Yun was furious, her face twisted and she pinched Bai Yuchun's chin and said, "Damn it, you bitch, I told you not to mention this poor Qin Ming anymore." The woman's face was twisted, and she squeezed Bai Yuchun's chin and said, "Damn it, you bitch, I told you not to mention this poor Qin Ming anymore." The company's main business is to provide a wide range of products and services to the public. The magpie is not a good idea. The woman's wife is a woman. The first thing you need to do is to take a look at the website. The company's main business is to promote the development of the company's products and services. The government has been working on a number of projects to improve the quality of life in the country. The government has a lot of money to spend. Subterranean alleyway bad facsimile. Who did you say you scrapped? Coldly, Qin Ming's voice came from behind. Zhou Yun was stunned. She looked back strangely and found that Qin Ming had actually come in the fast food restaurant. And he was unharmed. Where were Wang Chenghu's minions outside? At this moment, two girls came out from the back kitchen carrying a big plate of smelly driving rain, laughing viciously. Driving rain is here, ha ha ha, Bai Yuchan you bitch, eat pig food. Ah ah ah. Qin Ming saw this aside, and without waiting for them to finish, he started to raise his hand and overturn the face plate, and a large plate of driving rain was thrown at the two women, and they were covered with driving rain. Ah! It stinks, it stinks. Ah! Vomit. Help, help. Cough cough, I can't breathe. Hi vomit. The two pampered girls let out a pig-killing scream of terror and fainted from the stench of the driving rain. Zhou Yun and Bai Yuchun both looked dumbfounded. What was going on? They were still trying to deal with Bai Yuchun, but it turned out that Qin Ming easily took care of her two followers. Qin Ming treated them like air, found a stool and sat down slowly. He asked, "Are you hurt, Pure?" Bai Yuchun asked worriedly, I'm fine, just a little bruised." "Are you all right, Qin Ming? They let you go? You should go now." Qin Ming laughed and said, "I've called the police, they don't even dare to mess around anymore." Zhou Yun immediately shouted at the top of her lungs, "How can that be? Brother Tiger knows people in the police station, he's not afraid to call the police." Qin Ming looked at Zhou Yun like an idiot and said, "I guess the lesson you learned last time wasn't enough, was it? I'm so kind, why should I let you off the hook and give you a chance to change your ways? I thought you were still a student after all, not the same as a social gangster like Wang Dalong. I was really very wrong." Zhou Yun fiercely grabbed Bai Yuchun and held the broken soy sauce bottle against her neck, saying, "You poor Panjun? Turbulent melon supplements. The medical electrons are not only a good way to keep the figurines alive, but also a good way to keep them alive. Greeted with a tonic." Qin Ming said disdainfully, "Oh, kill someone? Do you dare? Have you ever tasted prison? You are at least a university student, do you need me to give you a science lesson on school bullying and vicious intentional homicide other than the death penalty or life imprisonment?" When it came to jail, Zhou Yun was a little bit abashed, but she had lost her mind and shouted wildly, "Qin Ming, don't be complacent, when Brother Tiger comes, I'll tell you to try the nuisance of being worse than death too. Brother Tiger has money and can wipe out anything." "Ridiculous, what is he? He's just an ordinary man who has been emptied of his body by alcohol and sex." Qin Ming crossed his legs and snapped his fingers. At the door, two bodyguards came in immediately. They were the ones who had secretly protected Bai Yuchun before, and it was also because of these two people who had secretly made a move many times that Bai Yuchun had nothing to do in the past few days. But today Wang Qinju had gone too far, forcing the whole street to be afraid of him, and making the owner of the shop where Bai Yuchun worked part-time sack Bai Yuchun altogether. The two bodyguards were very humiliated because they had not been able to successfully complete the task that Qin Ming had explained, and they were inevitably angry in their hearts. Qin Ming said, "Arrest the man for me." The two bodyguards acted swiftly, and just a moment after Zhou Yun was surprised, they squeezed Zhou Yun's wrist roughly with the speed of lightning, making the glass bottle in her hand fall to the ground, and then fiercely snapped Zhou Yun's arm upside down and pressed her to the ground. Zhou Yun could not struggle and could only scream, "Ah, let go of me now. You'll all have to die when Tiger comes, you'll drink my piss and eat my shit, Qin Ming you poor Panjun. The door is blue. Juggle. 8. You. Li. Qin Ming stepped forward to hug the shivering Bai Yuchun, painfully said, I'm sorry, it's all my fault, I'm too womanly, thinking that we are all students, how ruthless is not. Bai Yuchun shook his head and choked up, how can I blame you for this? This would have been my trouble. If only I had been a little uglier and more ordinary looking. I'm just a spoil sport, causing trouble every day. When I was in secondary school, I actually had friends. But because I was always getting into trouble, I got my friends into trouble and they stopped hanging out with me. Now, I'm dragging you into it again, oh. Qin Ming, you're my last friend, I can't hurt you anymore. Suddenly, Bai Yuchun pushed Qin Ming away, she picked up the glass on the ground and slashed it into her face. That white, flawless face would really not be perfect if there was a cut or two. Qin Ming quickly reached over and blocked the glass to death, and the shard of glass in Bai Yuchun's hand stabbed Qin Ming in the palm of his hand. Ah! Bai Yuchun was shocked and frightened even more, she hurriedly dropped the glass fragment and cried even more, Qin Ming, I didn't mean to, oh. I am sorry. Qin Ming let the bodyguard give him a simple bandage and gently stroked Bai Yuchun's back, comforting him, it's okay, I'm a big man, what's a little broken skin? Just don't do anything stupid again. Bai Yuchun bit her lip and said with self-pity, but I don't deserve to have such a good friend as you. Qin Ming smiled as he gently wiped away the tears on Bai Yuchun's face and said, then try to make yourself worthy of me, you have to be as tenacious as a little grass, got it? As long as you grow lush enough, then you will be worthy of me to surround yourself with this great tree of mine. Don't ever move to seek death or to hurt yourself. Bai Yuchun's heart trembled, her heart felt a choking touch, her hazel eyes looked at Qin Ming in a daze, touched and joyful, her heart was burning with a hope again, the hope of trying to live tenaciously. At that moment, a roar of cars came from outside. A middle-aged man then shouted in horror, son, who is it? Who has injured you like this? I, Wang Dake, want him to pay in blood. Chapter 128. Bai Yuchun was already exhausted after being bullied for a round, plus she hadn't slept well last night. Qin Ming had only hugged her for a while and she fell asleep with peace of mind, and only with Qin Ming around could she sleep so peacefully. Qin Ming looked at the bodyguards on the side and ordered, take Miss Bai to the hospital, no, to my manor, and have a private doctor come and look at her. The bodyguards took orders and went to do so, while Zhou Yun and her two accomplices were already tied aside with their cheeks red and swollen and a dirty stench. Qin Ming inquired, what use are these three women? The bodyguards looked at each other and said, young master, we are doing legal business, no illegal business. The corners of Qin Ming's mouth twitched and he made a red face, he didn't mean that either, he just wanted to arrange for these three women to do some hard work like digging coal or moving bricks so that they could be punished. Qin Ming suddenly saw the security cameras inside this small shop and suddenly had a bright idea. He said, you guys take away the surveillance here and post the video online, first let these three bitches experience what it's like to be a street rat, and then when they've had enough of the bullying they've been giving others to encounter, then one hand each and they'll be barred from entering Guang City forever, or else they'll be killed without mercy. The bodyguard responded, yes. The same day, once Qin Ming's video was put on the internet, it caused an uproar. The hall of a prestigious school actually happened a campus bullying incident, the Qi Zhou Yun three girls bullying not only Bai Yuchun, there are some other female students, many girls have appeared to speak, accusing Zhou Yun of viciousness. And Zhou Yun three girls immediately became a street rat, everyone shouted, in the school began a miserable life, until a few months later could not stand to take the initiative to withdraw from school, only to be punished again by Qin Ming's bodyguards, has been scared like a rat in a ditch, this life never dared to return to the city of Canton. Qin Ming finished his business in the small shop before he walked out. There were quite a few people outside the door, Wang Dake had come to save his son, and there was also a man Qin Ming had met once, the owner of a bar, Nian Laolu. These people were each driving luxury cars, Porsches, Maseratis, Big Ben, BMWs, Lincolns. The group of black-clad bodyguards who came down from the cars were also all very stout, with sharp movements and cold faces, and a powerful fierce aura emanated from them, which made a small number of passers-by who ran over to see what was going on scared their legs, not daring to stay much longer and hurrying to turn around and leave to save themselves from being affected by the ripples. Turtle, who has that boy offended? The other side is very aggressive. It seems that his girlfriend was taken by Wang Qinju, so he came to fight with his best buddies. Tisk, I'm not saying, how can two people beat these trained fighters of theirs? Ouch, what's that kid's name? So stupid. Is it worth putting your life on the line for a woman? Who knows what his name is, but after tonight, his family will probably be fishing for his body in the Pearl River. Forget it, we can't afford to mess with him, let's stay away. Wang Qinju was very happy to see his old man and Boss Nian coming, and lay on the ground and shouted, Dad, Boss Nian, you're here, quick, help me clean up that kid. The crowd's eyes followed Wang Qinju's finger and looked towards Qin Ming. Along approached and said, Young master, Nian Laolu is a lone shark in the eastern district and has many ruthless men under him, not the same as these petty fighters like Wang Chenghu. However, they are all the same in front of me. I am worried that they have hidden firearms, and I am afraid that young master may be in danger, so please go first. Qin Ming shook his head and said confidently, I'm standing in front of my people, he, Nian Laolu, wouldn't even dare to make a move on me. Wang De Cai was dressed in gold and silver, with a big belly, a large bunch of keys buckled on his belt, and he could not carry a bag, typical of a rich man's style. How dare you injure my son? Qin Ming smiled lightly and deliberately said, My name is Ma Zhitao. Wang Dake froze, then waved his hand and said, Impossible, Ma Zhitao has been crippled by my son, I paid to settle the matter, there is no way he could. Halfway through the sentence, Wang De Cai came back to his senses and immediately turned red and cursed, You bastard, set me up. Qin Ming said, What? You dare not admit what you have done? Your son bullies boys and girls at school, you as a father wouldn't be unaware of that, would you? Today he wanted to mess with a girl again, but I stopped him. Wang Dake said, Humph, your woman. Qin Ming shook his head and said, A friend of mine. If he dares to mess with my woman, I'll make sure he disappears before he even starts. Wang Dake said disdainfully, Bah, college students nowadays have such big mouths, they talk like farts. A waste of time from the ivory tower, do you really think you're an onion? Do you know how cruel this society is? Call your father or your backer to me, I'll save you the trouble later, after beating the young one to the old one, I don't have time to rub it in with you. Wang Qinju and the others also helped each other to stand up. He laughed in triumph, Hey, Qin Ming you poor Panjun? One of the junior brothers regained his original arrogance and said, Do you know who the person coming is? This is Boss Nian, the underground overlord who swept through the eastern district. I'm sure this kid won't be able to take the beating later and will kneel down and beg for mercy. He's scared out of his wits, huh? He dares to go against our brother Tiger, don't you know that our brother Tiger has a deep background? Don't you know how powerful Boss Nian's forces are? Qin Ming laughed and said, Wang Qinju, are you not taking a lesson? Wang Yukai, are you not taking the mistake your son made seriously? Think it's right for him to bully men and women? Wang Yukai laughed, laughing nonchalantly as he looked at Qin Ming like he was an idiot. Has this kid been studying stupidly? Hey, haha, isn't this society a man-eating man society? I made my fortune by eating people, didn't I? I taught my tiger son by example, how about that? Only when I am evil will people fear me and I will be able to call the shots. What kind of country bumpkin are you? Your wild father, let me take a look. Qin Ming narrowed his eyes. He hated people using his family to insult him. His family was his bottom line. These two fathers and sons were really irredeemable. Wang Qinzhi got excited. He rubbed his hands together and said sarcastically, "Dad, Boss Nian, what's the point of talking so much? I can't wait to see this kid kneeling in front of me, wagging his tail and begging for mercy. I want to wipe out my shame, ha ha ha." "Dad, you can rest assured. I've already investigated. This kid has no background, 3 years of poor school students, just a little ability to read. One of his fellow villagers even said he is just pure. The only thing I can say about him is that he's a pure. The company's business is a very important one. The company is a member of the board of directors of the University of California. The company's main business is to provide a wide range of services to the public. The company's main goal is to provide a good solution to the problem. The company is a member of the Board of Trustees of the University of California. The company is a member of the Board of Directors of the University of California. The problem is that the two of them are not the same. The company is a member of the Board of Directors of the University of California. The company is a member of the Board of Directors of the University of California. The man is a very good man. I had thought he was easy to deal with, so I cleaned up after myself, only to find out that the kid can fight quite well. He also has a good helper, otherwise. Humph. Wang Yuki's mind was set when he heard this. No background? How dare you go against his son? It is really a lantern in the toilet, looking for death, shit, ah. Wang Yuki turned back to Nian Laolu, who had been silent, and said, "Boss Nian, the guy around this kid looks like he can fight, so I'll leave it to you, and I'll leave that kid to me." Nian Laolu didn't make a sound, his expression was hesitating. Qin Ming smiled lightly and said, "Nian Laolu, what are you doing here? Do you want a lesson?" Qin Ming's calm question plunged the solemn atmosphere of the scene into an inexplicable awkwardness. Wang Qinzhu and Wang Yuki and their junior disciples all looked back at Nian Laolu in shock. They knew each other? Moreover, Qin Ming's attitude towards Nian Laolu was arrogant. What was going on? Rags to Riches Chapter 129 to 130. Chapter 129. Boss Nian, you know this kid? Wang Yuki asked tentatively. Wang Yuki's question was not loud, but the scene was so quiet that everyone could hear it clearly, while their arrogant aura was instantly reduced by more than half. The reason is that Nian Laolu is the big backer of Wang Yuki's father and son, and when Wang Yuki encounters someone in trouble, he will ask Nian Laolu to help. Wang Yuki gave the money and Nian Laolu did the work, and there was always no disadvantage. Wang Qinzhu also asked innocently, "Boss Nian, what's wrong? Are you worried that you can't beat him? That guy next to Qin Ming seems to have been a soldier, but you have a lot of fierce men under you, so it shouldn't be hard to deal with." Old Six Nian did not say anything. He ate fat but dressed tastefully, his face was covered in frost and his aura naturally radiated when he stood there. Although he was obese, he gave off a sense of fierceness. Naturally, Nian Laolu remembered Qin Ming, who had asked him for a woman who owed him usury last time, when Qin Ming had put him on the phone, Ho Qing's phone. Ho Qing was still very powerful in Guangzhou City. Who didn't know him in both black and white? Who from the upper class didn't suck up to him? And Ho Qing said to Nian Laolu very seriously at that time that if he dared to disobey Qin Ming, he would let him and his men disappear within 1 hour. So, at that time, Nian Laolu was very frightened and listened to Qin Ming's words and let Sister Bai go. And as for Along, Nian Laolu also knew him. There was some conflict between Nian Laolu's business and Sunshine Green Bird Credit Company, and conflicts had broken out between the two sides, but Sunshine Green Bird Credit Company had Along, a super fighter at that time, and was not afraid of Nian Laoliu's people at all. Seeing this situation at the scene, Nian Laoliu had obviously thought of something. Along was so obviously protecting Qin Ming, and he could see that it was obvious that Qin Ming was not as poor as Wang Qinju had said. Panjun? Cook. Gasquat Pai slit wood. Nian Laoliu thought to himself, could he be Ho Qing's illegitimate son? Nian Laoliu looked at Wang Yuki and his father, thinking that these two fathers and sons have done much injustice and have caused trouble everywhere. He expected that there would be a day when they would fall, but he did not expect it to come so quickly. Nian Laoliu walked forward and said, Along, you follow him. Along nodded without denying it. Nian Laoliu added, Mr. Qin, can you let me talk to Mr. Ho on the phone once more? Qin Ming smiled faintly, no, you only have two choices, either go against me or disappear immediately. The crowd was shocked, Qin Ming was talking so trolley. One by one, the surrounding minions revealed a playful gaze, is this man crazy? How dare he speak to Boss Nian like that? Boss Nian looks gentle, but once he decides to do something, it's thunderous and unscrupulous. Don't look at Boss Nian now, but once he is confrontational, he can destroy everything and no one can ever resist him. Are you crazy, Qin Ming? Boss Nian will let you know what pain is later. Why don't you call for someone? With just the two of you, we won't be able to enjoy the fight later. Wang Qinju's minions, each thinking they had flipped the tables, looked at Qin Ming playfully, expecting to hang him up and beat him up later. But Wang Yuki was more sensitive, and he seemed to hear something about a man called Chief Ho, who seemed to be known to Qin Ming, and Nian Laoliu was somewhat intimidated. At this time, Along made a call and said, Nian Laoliu, Chief Ho has been temporarily transferred to work overseas, but the person who will replace him is Chief Qi. Do you need to talk to Chief Qi? Nian Laoliu was puzzled, Qi Yundong. Along responded, not bad. Old Six of the Year took the phone in disbelief, followed by a couple of words to the person on the phone, and his obese body suddenly shook, the aura on his body was all gone, as if he had turned into a simple, honest, and cute fat person. He returned Along's phone with both hands, while saying gratefully, Along, thank you so much. Although it was a casual acquaintance, I never thought you would save me. Along said icily, you may be a villain, but a comrade of mine once received help from you, and I am just returning the favor for him. There won't be a next time. You should behave yourself in the future, and if you fall into my hands, I will definitely clean you up. With a wave of his hand, Nian Laoliu said to his minions, retreat. One by one, the minions listened to the order and got into the limousine and left quickly, and in an instant, half of the people at the scene were missing. Wang Yuki said strangely, Boss Nian, did something happen? Hey! Boss Nian! Wang Qinju was in a hurry, Boss Nian, what's your emergency? Can you kill these two bastards first? The little brother at the side also said, maybe Boss Nian wants to play with this kid, otherwise it's no fun. Heh, just wait, later this kid will know what desperation means. From the beginning to the end, Nian Laoliu never said a word to Wang Yuki and his father. He even ran up to Qin Ming and nodded his head and inquired, young Qin, I don't know that Wang Yuki very well either, just business dealings, helping him collect debts, fighting occasionally and so on. I hope you don't misunderstand me, and I'm firmly behind you in this matter. Can I do anything for you, Mr. Qin? Heh, of course I know that all the people under young Qin are more powerful than me. But there is a saying that you don't need a bullseye to kill a chicken, there are some things that my little brother can do for you. Qin Ming said icily, get lost. Nian Laoliu immediately gave a deep bow and got into the limousine to quickly flee the scene. The crowd was shocked, silent and dumbfounded. Wang Qinju, father and son, as well as their men, were speechless. What the hell had happened here? What was going on here? Was there someone the boss was afraid of? How come that Qin Ming had scared away old man Nian with a few words and a phone call? Isn't Qin Ming just a poor man with no background? Pancake. If it wasn't for Along's help, he would have been lost if he hadn't hesitated for a moment. Wang Yukai suddenly realized a serious problem at this time, and he stammered a little and asked, You pretend to be a pig, eat a tiger? What exactly is your origin? Qin Ming took a chair and said calmly, No, my family is indeed very poor, 50,000 to 60,000 a year is more than that. Many times it's not even 40,000 a year. I was really a poor student in college, and my girlfriend did dump me because I couldn't afford an Apple phone. Everything is true. Wang Yukai couldn't help but curse, Facts, you sister. These are the facts. How can you scare away Boss Nian? Here in Guangzhou City, he has a lot of face, and those powerful families can't even touch him. What makes you think you can? Qin Ming smiled without saying anything. Did he need to explain to these fish on the chopping block? He didn't need to. Suddenly, Wang Qinzhi shouted nervously, Hey! Dad, why are there red spots on your body? Huh? You guys have them on you too. Wang Qinzhi's group, about 30 people, each had a red dot on their chests, which was the red dot of the sniper rifle's aim. One junior was puzzled, is it just a sniper's red dot? Where are they ambushed? Wang Yukai strangely touched the red dot on his chest. He was suddenly ice cold and realized the seriousness of the problem. They had been locked in, and with one order from Qin Ming, they would die here. Wang Qinzhi's face finally changed, no longer the arrogant and domineering look he had at the beginning, no longer the arrogance and contempt, but fear in its place. He looked at Qin Ming's calm and smiling eyes. He finally understood, this guy's background was not simple. That's why Nian Laolu was scared away. The two of them, father and son, were finished. Dad. Wang Qinzhi's legs trembled as he walked towards Wang Yukai, and before he got close enough he fell to the ground because his legs were weak. Wang Yukai wanted to catch his son, but when he pulled his hand, he found that he couldn't get his arm to work because of his inner fear and trembling, and Wang Qinzhi fell straight to the ground. Wang Yukai held his face red and shouted, Who the hell are you? Qin Ming did not move too fast, turned on his mobile phone music and played a song called Cool for the two fathers and sons. Qin Ming said with a leathery smile, after listening to the song, You will naturally know. Chapter 130. The atmosphere was dead silent, with only the sound of Qin Ming's Huawei $1,000 phone playing a song called Cool and a pressure from Qin Ming himself that forced Wang Qinzhi and his minions to catch their breath. They neither dared to rashly step forward to make a move, nor did they dare to turn their heads and leave. They were really in a dilemma. Especially when their biggest backer, Boss Nian, ran away. If it was because of other things, they could still accept it, but it was obvious that they were scared by Qin Ming, especially the respectful way they treated him before leaving. It was really like a grandfather scolding his grandson. The people on Wang Qinzhi's side had a cloud over their heads. They were not stupid, they all knew that they had kicked the iron plate this time. Before that, no one thought that Qin Ming was anything special, especially when they investigated Qin Ming's past information. It was very ordinary, very plain, just a poor student who relied on scholarships and worked every day to study. What's so scary about it? Who knew that such an ordinary person hid such a lion heart? In Huawei's mobile phone, the song Cool finished playing, sarcastically saying that Wang Qinzhi's father and son were going to be cool. Wang Yukai knew he was planted today. He took a deep breath and ran his hand over his face to stabilize himself emotionally. Suddenly, he took out a box of cash from the car and threw it on the ground, saying, Here's $500,000, whoever carries the day off, I still have $1 million. As the saying goes, like father, like son, two fathers and sons have exactly the same character. The desperate Wang Qinzhi saw the floor of bank notes, as if he had caught the hope of turning the tide, he said ecstatically, "No one died today either, what are you afraid of? It's only a matter of a few months in the hospital, how big a crime is it? How dare this kid kill us all in front of so many people?" Today Wang Qinzhi felt doubly insulted, since his family had become rich, he had never tried to bear such a big humiliation, and he was more willing to gamble to the end than to suffer the humiliation of failure. Wang Qinzhi spat out a mouthful of blood and cursed, "Qin Ming, you punk, don't be arrogant, we're not afraid of you. Ha 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 ha, I haven't done anything, what am I afraid of? I have money, money is everything. So what if I can't move you? I have money and someone to make a scapegoat for me, what can you do? I have the money to hire the best lawyer, I'll be acquitted even in court." The thought of money made Wang Qinzhi swell, he crossed his arms and looked smug. Qin Ming didn't say anything, smiled lightly and snapped his fingers. Snort. A stretch Rolls-Royce quickly drove in. Immediately afterwards, a young, pretty, professional female white collar in a long white dress came down holding a pile of documents and a briefcase. Grr. The scene was quiet as these men looked at Song Ying's curvaceous figure and rose with desire, the sound of gulping, and more than one. However, Song Ying, so beautiful and capable, stepped on her high heels and walked directly to Qin Ming, handed him a copy of the information and whispered, "Sorry young master, it took a little while, I'm late." Qin Ming said, "Not late, just right. By the way, are you ready to take over the business of Wang Yukei's company?" Seeing their thuggish air, it should be quite a big business. Song Ying smiled slightly, Qi Yundong is already grabbing Wang Yukei's business, a conservative estimate is that in the future there will be $10 million of revenue every month, it's a bit less, but as the saying goes, only when you take in 100 rivers can you become an ocean of water. Qin Ming nodded as he took a copy of the information and threw it in front of Wang Yukei, saying, "Don't you guys think that money is everything? Take a look at these documents." Wang Yukei's smug mouth gradually froze and then became worried as he quickly picked up those documents on the ground. "My account has been frozen? Impossible. How did the evidence of my years of smuggling appear here? No, no, the Nai family has urgently announced that they won't be doing business with me. The Cheng family is no longer doing business with the Budweiser department store either? Impossible. Laozi's 18 shops have been closed. When did? Grass, 30 minutes ago. My old man's company's stock was checked. My old man's house was sealed. My old man's offshore account, how is that possible? That's the World Bank, absolutely guaranteeing customers money, how is that possible?" Qin Ming smiled faintly, "I forgot to tell you, the World Bank is my name property, so the 500 million you deposited in my house bank, sorry, I laugh at it. After all, you're going to be in jail soon, you've committed enough crimes to be sentenced to life imprisonment, it's useless to keep the money." Boom. A thunderbolt from the clear sky, Wang Yukei fainted on the spot. Dad? Dad, what's wrong with you? Wang Qinzhi was dumbfounded, how could his dad, who had carried him arrogantly and infinitely 1 second, faint after reading a pile of documents? A few people worked hard to save Wang Yukei, using artificial respiration, pinching, and slapping. The first thing Wang Yukei did when he woke up was to grab his son Wang Qinzhu and slap him across the face. "You bastard, you bully boys and girls at school all day long and do nothing wrong. What do you think school is? Is it your backyard? You've ruined our Wang family." Wang Qinzhu was beaten up, and he asked in a strange voice, "Dad, what are you looking at? We have money, if we have money, we can rise again. As long as we have money, what are we afraid of?" Wang Yukei's legs stretched, no longer arrogant and calm at the beginning, but regret and sadness. "We are finished, completely finished. The things I've done, the lives I've bought, they've all been recorded. Once the stuff is handed over to the prosecutor's office, you and I will have to spend the rest of our lives in prison. No, the money is all gone. Shake. It was as if a sledgehammer had knocked past Wang Qingju's head. His whole person was not well, disheveled and sitting on the ground, frozen as a wooden chicken. He looked incredulously at Qin Ming, the soft-hearted king in his eyes. Poor Panjun? Pearl? Shuo headstrong? Anti-gadfly which fishy play? The man who is a member of the Chinese government is the only one who has the right to be a member of the Chinese government. An ethnic group. Wang Yukai pounded his fist with regret and cursed, I have warned you long ago that there is a limit to messing around, don't bully people too much, there are mountains outside the mountains and people outside the people, but you just don't listen. Before he realized the truth, Wang Yukai did not have such an attitude, so what was the point of regretting it now? At this moment, the momentum had already gone, and Wang Qingju's former junior brothers were already drumming in their hearts, and they were all consciously backing away from these two fathers and sons, lest it should affect them. They knew that the two fathers were finished, and if they wanted to avoid being affected, they could only leave the area as soon as possible to clear their relationship. Wang Qingju looked at his brothers who used to kiss his ass and suck up to him and shunned them, and his heart felt even colder, disillusioned and helpless. Wang Yukai fell to his knees and crawled to Qin Ming's feet, kowtowing to him with a thud, Mr. Qin, please give me a chance. We know we're wrong, we really know we're wrong. I will give anything to Mr. Qin, please spare the lives of our father and son. From now on, Mr. Qin is our master, Mr. Qin. Oh. We really know we are wrong. Wang Qingju was shocked that his dad, who had always been soaring and domineering, was wagging his tail and begging for mercy from Qin Ming, just begging for his life. He was proud, he was good at saving face, but he was also afraid of death. Wang Qingju also crawled on his knees to Qin Ming's feet, licked the blood from his lips, and said, Young Qin, I have eyes that are not aware of Taishan. Young Qin, I will never dare to touch Bai Yuchun again. Slap. Qin Ming threw a palm over, hitting Wang Qingju and losing another tooth, lying on the ground and unable to stand up. Qin Ming said, My dormitory friends, they were originally innocent, you even involved them, what kind of man are you? That bitch Zhou Yun said a few words and you want to kill a stranger, how cruel are you? What have you done in the past that is not an outrage to God and man? Wang Yukai cried as he humbly slumped to the ground, my son knows he's wrong, young Qin, he's still just a child, he's only 23, please, spare us a life, I don't want to go to jail. Whoops. A siren blaring came from outside the street. Qin Ming waved his hand, the red dot aim of the sniper rifle on Wang Qingju and the others disappeared, and Song Ying walked to the door of the Rolls-Royce to open the door for Qin Ming. Qin Ming moved to get into the car and said before he left, you two fathers, whoever walks out of this street alive, I will spare.